So there is life out there after all. On about we have a viewer, if you like,
Mm,
who responded to our abortion, which is worth more, a human life or a big razor
mm,
podcast of
yeah,
Tuesday.
yeah,
Uh, Liz Emlinger.
yeah,
She
yeah,
replied on Facebook, right?
yeah.
Um, and her thoughts, as I could understand it, were that assisted dying in adults was a leftist ideology, and it was some sort of ploy or some sort of plan by leftist governments to implement these things on the people.
Yes,
So I decided to have a little dig around in the subject and find out what it's all about.
yes.
Now, I did this because today it was her that sort of brought us onto this story, really. It's
Yeah.
thanks to her, because I didn't know about it. It slipped under my radar, and
Mm,
she sort of raised
mm.
raised the subject up. That in Parliament today, there's going to be a vote on the terminally ill adults end of life bill,
Yeah.
right? And it's all about assisted dying.
Mm,
And so, I looked into what it all entails, and first of all, it isn't exclusive to the UK.
yeah.
Right? And I'll explain all this to you. Interesting is that around about 2 years ago,
Mm,
we did a podcast about this very subject, although we
yes.
didn't include the UK in it,
Mm,
about how rife this is
yeah.
around the world, you
Yes.
know. And we at that time we were on about the ins and outs of it, and if it was a if it was a good or a bad thing, if I
Yeah.
remember, right?
Yeah.
So here we go. This is what I found out, and it isn't just the UK, as I said. Austria, Germany, Portugal, some US states, not all of them.
Mm,
Ecuador,
mm,
Estonia, Italy, Belgium,
mm,
Luxembourg, Canada, New
yes.
Zealand, Spain, the Netherlands, and
Mm,
Colombia.
yeah.
These are some other countries that have assisted dying,
Mm.
and I wouldn't say that all of these countries are left leaning in
No.
their politics,
Mm,
right? So it's good to that's the first thing, just to demystify
yeah.
that it isn't just a leftist thing,
Mm, yeah.
and we'll find out why a little bit late as I go on.
Mm,
Okay,
yeah.
but it's important to understand the difference between uh, euthanasia. What is euthanasia? Right? And
Mm,
the euthanasia can be broken down into two parts, right? The active euthanasia,
yeah.
that's where you're giving patient drugs to kill them,
Yes.
right? So that they die. And
Mm,
passive euthanasia is where you're withholding drugs to
yeah.
allow a patient to die.
Mm,
So one's active and one's passive.
okay. Yeah.
Okay. And the practice, all the different countries that
Mm,
have this policy, they
mm,
all use different terminology,
yeah.
right? So we go medical aid in dying,
Mm,
medical assistance in dying, assisted dying, physician assisted death, physician assisted suicide, and assisted suicide. But
yeah.
all of these different terms, they all amount to the same thing,
Mm,
and that is assisted dying.
yeah.
Right? Um, some people don't like the word suicide, as it sounds like the patient is not terminally ill. And in 2022, the World Federation of Right to Die Societies, their membership must be really big. That's what I can say if they're all wanting to die soon.
Probably constant renewal. Yeah. Yes.
They use the phrase voluntary assisted dying.
Yeah.
Okay, so but it's all the same thing, right?
Mm,
And to qualify for medical aid in dying, one needs to be uh, having a terminally ill illness or
Yes.
incurable illness or disability,
Mm.
and that they're likely to die in the next 6 months.
Okay.
So we talk about end of term cancer and
Yeah.
these things.
Okay. Yeah. It's
Uh,
inevitability. Yeah. Yeah.
they have to be of sound mind,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Uh, that they voluntarily and repeatedly express their wish to die. Right? They take the specified lethal dose by their own hand.
Yeah.
So they're the ones that do the injection. Right? And in some jurisdictions, the term unbearable suffering may be used. So they can be, they can have an illness
Mm.
that it leaves them in extreme pain, but it's not terminal.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Uh, so it certainly isn't a thing that is ordered by a government
Mm.
to, on the contrary, it's the patients demanding this so that
Yeah. Yeah.
so that they can die. I wouldn't say precociously because they're on the last legs, so to speak.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Mm.
it's just it's this term um, to die with dignity,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's to die on their own terms, if you like,
Yeah. Okay.
right?
Yeah.
The arguments for assisted dying
Mm.
are include a
Yeah.
reduction in suffering,
Mm.
compassion,
Mm.
respect for patient autonomy,
Yes.
the patient that decides, personal liberty,
Yeah.
their freedom, equal treatment in patients on
Mm.
and off life support machines,
Yeah.
right? Transparency on the
Yes.
doctor's side, and ethics of responsibility.
Mm.
You talk about ethics, there is the Hippocratic oath
Yeah.
that doctors they used to have to sign. These days they don't sign. I
Mm.
think it was changed sometime back in the
Yeah. So you
60s
catch
or
one. Yeah.
70s, you know, where the doctor's oath is that they do everything to prolong life,
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah.
right? And not necessarily to do the right thing.
Mm.
So that makes, I mean,
No,
we
no, yeah.
treat animals. You take your puppy to the vet to be put down
Mm.
because it would be kinder than to keep it alive, having a terrible quality of life,
Yeah. That's the
right?
argument. Yeah. Yeah.
So once again, just to quell the conspiracy theorists around, it isn't the government suggesting or demanding that this policy is put in place,
Mm.
but rather on the patient side, the sufferer's side, the ill person's side is what
Yeah.
they are demanding, so that they can have a comfortable end or a more comfortable end to their life.
Yeah.
I suppose if you do it on the cheap, if you want to do it on the cheap, and this legislation, the government said, on no way, in no
Yeah.
way, would we do this.
Yeah.
Would be to go on the street and buy, 5 doses of fentanyl
Yeah.
and take them all at the same time, and that way you sort your
Y-
problem out. But when you're limited to a bed in a hospital ward, it's
yeah.
not it's not all that easy to get out onto the street and, and get your fentanyl. You
Yeah.
know,
It,
um,
it's
it's a thing about and funnily enough, it wouldn't even free up beds it wouldn't make it cheaper, like I said, in the hospitals because there's
mm,
always a waiting list
yeah.
for beds anyway, and so if you're taken out,
Yeah.
somebody's going to be put in your place. So they're always going to be topped up. Um, so there you are. It's a patient induced
Yeah.
bill,
Yeah.
and lots and lots of countries are doing it already,
Yeah.
and I can understand people not wanting to do it for religious reasons,
Yeah. Yeah.
but then you're not forced to do it anyway. It's your decision. It's the patient's decision.
Right. Okay.
And so away you go on that. I just hope that Liz, I think her name is,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
I think. Yeah. I mean, it. I
will
gotta
be
say,
satisfied,
I.
will
I
be
did.
satisfied with that explanation.
Well, I think she's talking about. I think the term is Mountinism. Yeah, named after a philosopher who was discussing populations against the Earth's or his it's a globally aims to sustain human existence
Yes, yes, yes.
with agriculture, etc., etc. Yeah, I
Well,
know
being
she's. I know she's.
the Club of Rome, the Club of Rome, we've all,
Yeah.
you know,
Um. I
known about.
Yeah, I know what she's suggesting there, or she's talking about. Yeah, and yeah, it is a yeah, it is a theory, and it's not the first time I've read it. I mean, yeah, this idea, this notion of the WEF wanting to reduce world population and
Yeah,
everything else.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, I mean whether this feeds into it or is an offshoot of it, again, it could be could be a 2 hour podcast, looking at the ins and outs of all that. Um, I do I do understand what you're saying, obviously, from the religious thing. I've said that before. I just know that even to want to end your own life or take your own life is to a point considered a sin. Certainly in my faith. But okay, I'm not going to go dwell on that because I've done that before. Yeah, I do understand what you're saying. Um, Indeed, I've had members of my own family that the medical staff have stopped assisting them with life. I don't know.
I think, to be quite honest, I think the same thing happened with my father.
Yeah,
He died of cancer,
yeah,
an aggressive form of cancer, and he just said I think he stopped taking. He decided to stop taking chemotherapy. He
yeah,
said, he said, there's nothing more to be done.
yeah,
He went to hospital, got palliative treatment,
mm,
and he just said, he said, as long as I get to my 65th birthday,
yeah.
which he died on his 65th birthday.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, that wasn't again. Yeah, whether or not the power of prayer could save him in a miraculous recovery and everything else. Yeah, even the most stringent, yeah, religious person, yeah, would doubt that. But I mean, I think miracles happen. But yeah, or regression happens, and so, yeah, okay. Um, Yeah, okay. Prolonging of life. When I suppose we have to look at it a little bit like this. We are an intelligent species that has this ability. I'm reversing it a little bit here. It's ability to prolong life, possibly when life isn't meant to be prolonged, if you understand what I'm saying by that. Yeah. Um, yeah, there's that side to it. And to a point, yeah, I can agree with that. Who are you hanging on to? The person lying there in a coma, hooked up to machines, who are you keeping them alive for? The family or them? Yeah. If you're a Christian, you believe, or other religions, you believe there's a place after this life. Yeah. Hopefully left or right turn, whichever side you think it is. But yeah. Um, so yeah, I mean, okay, I can go with that. Um, I think it's assisted dying. I mean, looking at the bill, I mean, yeah, Liz also suggested are the two linked? I said not really, because one of them is, like you say, an agreement. Somebody has an agreement of it's fake thinking that they're entitled to die, as it were. Yeah, not entitled. Yeah, not have a life anymore. The other is abortion, which is the person isn't even conscious enough to make any decisions about anything. Yeah. So I can separate it with that. Yeah. Um, I'm not going to go down the abortion route. We did that the other day. People watch the video, our views on that. Not instructing people to, suggesting
Not
if they're
not
in.
not to dwell on it. The biggest cleanest difference is that assisted dying is the patient. The
Yeah,
patient has
that's what I'm saying. They have a choice. There's a
the
there's a
yeah
conscious decision.
the abortion, the abortion side of it is that the patient doesn't have a choice.
No. And yeah, I mean, if there is a choice, um, it's like you say now, when you say Italy is a big Catholic country, even now, still today, yeah. Um, And I think there is an understanding of life there. I mean, yes, probably if you are a Christian, when you are a Christian, you do understand that at some point we believe that God will intervene and it's God's will. Okay. Uh, Putting drugs into yourself or suicide, and as you said, there is a difference between euthanasia in this point and suicide are two totally different things. Yeah. There have been cases. I mean, the worrying thing is, yeah, um, somebody making the choice to die or being assisted in the dying off. Okay. The choice to die would be, I'm not taking these drugs anymore, like your father. Yeah. Again, he made that decision.
That's right.
He was probably in pain. What am I
Could,
doing this for?
yeah,
It's you can see the anguish in your family around you, and maybe a grieving is a relatively slow process. Watching someone suffering is a long process, and we've all been through that. Yeah. Um, I think there's always a fear, and it's controlled. But a lot of the countries you've mentioned don't directly interfere with it. They don't encourage. Somebody has a mental issue. Oh, I want to die. This has happened. Yeah. That's the troubling side for all this for me. But again, this bill
but,
does not cover that. This bill is not about that. This
yeah.
bill was about somebody's right, if they're terminally ill or heading towards that road, to make a
One,
conscious decision
one,
to not prolong the
one
suffering. Yeah.
one of the criteria is that you have to be of sound mind.
Yeah.
And so if you're suffering from depression, that doesn't count.
No.
You
So
then you can't.
yeah, that's what I'm making the point. Yeah, we that was really I think what we did before. But again, I disagree with that. I mean, my own personal view is somebody's getting close to end of life, somebody's 70, 80, yeah, or younger, 60s. Yeah, they've had a life. It's natural. Okay, cancer is natural, whether we like it or not. Doesn't matter how it got there. Um, okay, but they've had a life. They've enjoyed their lives. They've had good and bad times. They've reflected on it all and go out happy. Yeah, yeah. If you are in that much pain all the time, it's like I said, you and I have been joking, we've been complaining about pains in our shoulders and all that. At least we know we're still alive and our body's still functioning, telling us, oh, you've just got a pain in your shoulder, calm down a bit, boy. Yeah. Um, yeah, that's a lot different to this pain that these people must be feeling every day when your body's basically closing down. Literally, cancer's eating from the inside. Let's be honest about it. I know people say, "Oh, it's a simplification of cancer. It's your cells basically eating them or destroying themselves." Yeah, um, that must be horrendous. Um, and we know that when people have gone into cancer, recovered, but they're living on a fear all the time of it coming back. So they go into remission. As people who have had cancer will tell you, they've never totally cured from cancer. They're in remission. They're in all the time. They're monitored. Yeah. Um, yes, a younger person can fight cancer possibly better than an older person can. Yeah, with changing diet, lifestyle, yeah, the correct drugs. I mean, if there are drugs that can prolong life and you have a healthy life, hey, why not? You know, that's why we're intelligent beings to allow that. Um, yeah, I mean, to me, it's a lot different from abortion. Um, is allowing people to die, decreasing the population.
Not really.
No, this going to happen. I
Well,
mean, yeah,
I was looking at the numbers. It's
yeah,
funny you should say that.
yeah,
Because the people like in the US, it's something like 2,000 people in 2022.
yeah,
It's over 2,000 people that decided they wanted to end their life this way with
yeah,
assisted dying.
yeah,
So we're not talking, more people are killed in road accidents
yeah,
or with fentanyl
yeah. I mean,
overdoses or
yeah,
accidentally being shot with a gun, I suppose, So
oh,
they're
yeah.
with it's only a little dent
In
on
a
the
sca-
statistics, but it's not a life changer if you know
yeah,
what I mean.
yeah. I know,
But
I know. I mean, you almost puzzle why this is going through anyway, because
I think
he,
I think it's to safeguard the doctors,
yeah,
to be quite honest.
yeah. I mean, I mean, yes, doctors will make the decision, or they'll say to the family, "There's nothing else we can do." Yeah, which you know what that means. This is the state you're going to be in.
That's right.
Um, the,
For as long as it takes.
yeah, um, yeah. I saw it with another relative of mine. The medical staff decided that the guy wasn't conscious at all. Wasn't conscious. I mean, yeah, literally, it was a case of very healthy at a bar 1 minute, went home, collapsed, heart, no consciousness, no anything. Yeah, saw this person, or yeah, close person, saw them in the UTI. What do we call it? The um, the
Intensive care.
intensive therapy, not intensive care, intensive therapy. The two things are different. Saw them in the ITU set thing, and it's kind of a yeah. At that point, you just think had a life. That's it. This guy's 80s, 70s, 80s. Yeah. So, um, and then yeah, they I think they made the decision that he's gone. Yeah, and died peacefully, relaxed, and everything else.
Right, but that isn't induced. That
No.
isn't induced death. And another thing that you touched on
Mm.
is that family members cannot indicate
Yeah,
that they want their parent to die
of course not.
with assistance.
Yeah,
Because
it's very much.
otherwise, everybody be taking the granny to the hospital, and
There's nothing wrong with me. Well, there will be soon. Yeah. Oh, that's a
look, my
serious subject. Yeah.
her insurance is maturing. Please take her.
Yeah, yeah. We're laughing. I know it's a serious subject, people. We're laughing,
No,
but that's how we do it. But yeah. Yeah, I would just say that I can understand this obviously much more than I can the topic we
yeah,
discussed on Tuesday,
yeah, yeah,
abortion.
yeah, yeah. And just like I said once again, there's no great conspiracy theory about these legislations being, well, certainly not in the UK.
No.
And the fact that they've got an international society of, right to die people,
Mm.
you know, they pressure governments to allow governments to do this.
Yeah,
So, you know, they it isn't it isn't the governments that are being proactive in doing this
yeah,
legislation.
yeah.
They're doing it kicking and screaming because they've been put under pressure
Yeah,
from these organizations.
yeah. All I think that she said in the comment was that um it was a she knows about it. It's an interesting point, and it's a point we've just discussed. Um, yeah, I thought that because I actually went into what she was actually discussing as well. I'd heard about it, but I went a bit deeper and okay, and as far as a Wikipedia page and everything else, it's quite interesting, and it's things that have been discussed, well popular. It's been discussed since the 1970s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Earlier.
Well, yeah. Okay. Well, I remember 1970s reading books from the 1970s. Yeah. So that's my reference. Um, yeah, I agree with you on this one, Steve. I don't think there's any massive, certainly, as you say, not from the British government side of it. I it's not as though, yeah, you're forcing. It's like I said, I have a lot of issues with people that in other countries who choose to die have got perfectly healthy bodies. Yeah, possibly, possibly a few more friends around them to help them, and they can overcome their mental issues. Yeah. And I know it's not that easy, and I'm not dismissing people that do have mental problems. You know, I know there's a fine line between being this side and that side, but yeah, with right help and everything else, you're never alone. That's all I'll ever say to people that feel down. You're never alone. There'll always be somebody who will help you. Yeah. And that is to me, that is what a liberal society should be doing, stepping in and helping these people.
Either way, these people, like I said before,
Yeah.
these people who are suffering from depression are excluded
Yeah.
from the
Exactly.
assisted dying because you've got to be of sound mind.